Good morning and welcome to another in the series of meditations on hope. And I want to talk today about the hope of success. Now, I have always believed very strongly that the Christian should not be dominated by senses of either success or failure, and that the Christian hope ultimately is the hope of another world, another life, a bigger and better future. But it is true that in practice, if you're living in this world, you need a bit of hope, not just for the ending, but for the living of the life that you're living before the ending in this world. The hope of success. And this meditation follows straight on from a Bible study we had on Zoom last night with and I want to thank those 6 or 8 people for taking part in that study, because it really helped me to think a few things through after it finished. So thank you to everyone. I often feel that the best Bible studies are the ones where not where the leader has all the best answers, but where the leader has some of the best questions. We were looking at Joseph, the son of Jacob, in Genesis. And the story of Joseph takes up an awful lot of the book of Genesis. There are 3 characters, I think, who really dominate that book. And those 3 characters are Abraham, Jacob, and Joseph. The great-granddad, the father, and then Joseph. Each of those 3 men has a promise, receives a promise at some time in their life. And their whole life stories from then on show how those promises worked out in their lives. The first promise Abraham was received was the promise of a new place to live. The promise that Jacob received was the promise of an inheritance. And for Joseph, the promise was of a kind of success. Joseph would end up being ruler over his brothers and ruler even over his father. And how those promises work out in those 3 lives are fascinating. With Joseph, it's a story of ups and downs, but there's one phrase that in Genesis 39 keeps cropping up. The Lord was with him. The Lord was with Joseph. And I think what that's talking about is the way in which God is giving him success in various ways. And Joseph is successful. Whenever he has a job to do, he does it so well that he ends up in charge. And success, as I understand it, needs 3 things. There has to be firstly some skill. So if the Lord was with him, he was giving him some skill that he could use. Personal qualities go with that as well. We discussed that last night, what kind of guy he was, as well as the abilities he had. But of course it also requires work, hard work, application, and not just hard work but well-directed work. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They spend their lives working hard but not perhaps successfully. And of course at the end, luck. I was really glad that somebody raised that yesterday. You need a large dose of luck to be successful. All these books that tell you how to be successful, they miss that out, because no one can tell you how to be lucky. Now, we Christians would of course use the word providence. We would say that God is Lord over luck, Lord in luck as well. God works, as I said in my previous series, God works through randomness, but you need that randomness to bring you success. Or better still, you need the Lord to be with you. So the Lord is with people who are successful, and that's throughout the Bible. In Judges 6, God says to Gideon, the Lord is with you. And Gideon finds it hard to believe, since his experience is one of failure. But the Lord is with you, so Gideon does succeed. King Hezekiah, the thing we're told about him in 2 Kings was the Lord was with him. Nathan the prophet says it to King David as well. The Lord is with you, so get on with your whatever you want to do. It's part of Gabriel's greeting to Mary, isn't it? The Lord is with you. And that means that not just that you're blessed in general terms, but there's going to be an element of success in your life, Mary. And I suppose you could say that to be the mother of Jesus was a pretty big success. There are lots of other examples throughout the Bible. This is the idea. It's a blessing, isn't it? The Lord be with you. Now, in Joseph's case, it started with a promise at a young age, at the age of 17. He was given this promise of status and honour. The whole family would bow down before him. And yet, it seems that for large parts of his life, that was a promise that would never be fulfilled. It's interesting that he didn't try to hurry that promise up in any way. He took the route that God gave him faithfully. But the promise that he received never died. It was always there. It was what God had said to him. Now, I've been speaking about the life of hope in the Christian and saying how the seed of hope is the new birth. When God enters our lives in salvation, he comes to stay. You can honestly say that the Lord is with you if you've been born again. And that moment of regeneration is described by Peter as being born again into a living hope. And I think the idea of a living hope is that it means that it's not just a distant hope. Eventually I'm looking for a better resurrection. I hope you are. But in the meantime, we do have the right to be hopeful. We have a living hope, a hope that we live by, and a hope that we live in. It means that there should be in my life a measure of success. I need to be careful how I say that. It's very easy to accept worldly measures of success. But I think this is true, that in everyone I've known who has lived well as a Christian, there have been things in their lives that have just been successful. They've done well in life. Not in terms always of measurable success, but they have lived well. Anyway, if the Lord is with us, we can cope, as Joseph did. Joseph had to cope with disappointment, practically with bereavement, since he was dead to his family for most of his life. He had to cope with the hostility of other people. He had to cope with what Shakespeare called the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. He had to cope with malicious people, like Potiphar's wife. But he was able to because the Lord was with him. There is a sense in which every believer is like Abraham. Every believer is like Jacob, and every believer is like Joseph, the three great characters of Genesis. We have been given a promise, and as we live with that promise, as we work it out in our lives, the Lord is with us. And so we have a hope. We have a future hope, a distant hope, and we have a present hope, which is based on the fact that we are not alone in this life. We walk under the eyes of God. The Lord is with us. We spend our days in God's presence. And that's always a hopeful condition. So there we are. Hope, the Lord is with you. And I can bless you today. I can say, the Lord be with you as you get on with your life under his lordship. May you be blessed. Bye for now.